when I was asked to share my story, they asked a bunch of different questions, and what came out as a really interesting theme was how I've made decisions in my career and in our startup centering around doing things I love, or are you having fun, is sort of the question we've asked. So what I thought I'd share tonight is a little bit about that story. So this is me. I'm a bit of a weird person in the startup community in that I spent 14 years at Cisco prior to doing my startup. And I do have an engineering background, although I didn't go to Waterloo. I'm a Queen's grad and applied math. And I started at Cisco, and I like to talk about this one because they offered me a job around technical support in the Valley back in 2000, so when things were really hot. And when I thought about it, I was like, oh, I did Queen's engineering and applied math, and I'm gonna go do tech support? Like, really? But then when I thought about it, it was actually helping people, solving problems, and doing all the thing I love. And so I went there and I spent 14 years never applying for another job, always creating the work that I wanted to get done. And I was an intrapreneur, which means that I got to spend all of Cisco's money creating new products and new services for companies like AT&T, and had a really long leash and didn't have to ask permission for a lot of things, but instead got to lead teams and do all the things that I love to do until I wasn't having fun. And so I'll never forget in August, I had just been married and I was like, I'm either gonna get pregnant or I'm gonna quit. And I got pregnant. So I left Cisco to become a mom, and my daughter Ruth, who's now almost 5, and my son Garrick here, which was a whole other adventure. But what was perfect was that my husband had been starting to noodle on technology at the time. But he's one of those developers who likes to create really cool stuff, but not talk to anybody. And so what a great opportunity for me while I was on maternity leave to go and try to sell the stuff that he was building. And the first company, he was building sort of tools to help contractors show up online, and we forced them out of the car to go talk to contractors with our 3-month-old in the back seat, only to find out that they didn't really want to buy what he wanted to do. And eventually I convinced Cisco to lay me off, which funded our company for another year. And then we pivoted. So our first pivot was like, contractors don't want to know how to manage their things online, but general, small, medium-sized businesses do. And so we built a product where we are coaching people around SEO, only they didn't have time to do that work, and so we became a services company and really a marketing agency. And this was one of those moments where we're like, are we having fun? Like, why are we choosing to be poor and not do things we enjoy? And this is, again, coming back to that theme of like, are you having fun and are you doing the things? And we actually decided we weren't having fun. But the fun part that we had was the fact that there was this really, really technical, geeky type of search engine optimization called schema markup. And Google didn't quite support the way we did it yet, but we really loved doing that. And so overnight, we rewrote our whole website. I went to a conference the next day and started pitching to franchises to see if they wanted to manage their brand for machines, and they had no idea what I was talking about, and we were way ahead of the market. But in 2015, Google did align to how we were doing it, and we had had a tool since 2013, and this is what is now called Schema App. And so Schema App actually helps digital marketers do this advanced type of SEO without learning how to write code and not having to engage with IT. And what was so interesting is that we are so passionate about this. Like, there's some people in the crowd who I was talking to and they're like, oh my goodness, like, what are you talking about? I translate things so virtual reality understands what I do. But people were getting excited. And it was interesting as we started doing things that we love to do and started talking about it, things started to happen. So we were in the Fierce Founders top 8. We were profiled in Toronto Life as like all the smart Canadians are moving back to Canada. And then we actually won Startup of the Year in 2017. And in February of last year, we were 2 employees, and I'm happy to report that as of next week, we'll be hiring our 6th employee. And what was really cool about this journey is that we were always checking in to say, what do we love? And one of the things that we really dreamt was that we would have this like cool office in downtown Guelph. And I'm happy to report on March 1st, we moved into the Petrie building, and if anyone knows Guelph, it's like a historic building that's been closed up for 100 years that has now been remodeled, and we are one of the companies in there. We have 1,800 square feet, and we're growing fast. And on Monday, I demoed our product to 320 people in Toronto. We've tripled our monthly recurring revenue since January, and I don't do outbound sales because all the people who want to do what we do are calling us. And one of the things that we do that's a takeaway, I thought, is that we do this meeting called Energy Wabam. And Jeff, who's here, who's on my team, when I first told him, he's like, we're doing what? And what this is that every 3 months, Mark and I get together, but I also do this with my own team members, is we ask these questions like, how do we eliminate the stuff we don't like to do that sucks our energy? We all know who those people are, right? There's people who you work with or customers of yours who just suck. And so the question you do is like, what are the relationships that aren't working, things that other people can do better, and things that drain our energy? And we've actually like fired employees who were just like, they're just like taking more energy than they're getting. And there's customers we've considered not renewing because we think that they're just not good for us getting our mojo and getting moving. And then you focus on the things that increase your energy. So what are the things I want to do more that I permanently love and grow my confidence and personal growth? And you can immediately see yourself smile, right? Like as you think about those things that you want to do. And then what would you want to keep fascinating you and motivating you for the rest of your life? And so I'll share a little bit about me. Like I love presenting in front of people, telling our stories, and helping connect dots to help people buy into this like really cool changing world around search. And guess what I do every day? That's what I get to do. And so I really encourage you, this is actually based on something that's Strategic Coach, which is a really awesome coaching organization out of Toronto. I'm not a member of there, just really love their materials. They actually have a blog, if you look up energy and stuff, Strategic Coach, and they talk about eliminate stuff and increase energy and do the things you love. So that's all I have for you tonight.
All right, thank you, Martha. So we have time for a few questions, if anyone has questions based on her talk.
Hi, Martha. Is that similar to an 80-20 analysis where you would look at the 20% that's giving you 80% of your headaches and eliminate that, and then look at the 20% that's giving you 80% of pleasure, let's put it that way, for business, and then focusing on that 20%?
I think no matter what those numbers are, because those numbers are going to be different for everyone, is just that like you're constantly trying to almost like engineer your life to make sure you're doing more of the things you love than the things you don't like doing. And it can be as simple as, I hate doing laundry. And so it's like, I have a cleaning lady because I'd rather not clean. And so it's like, well, why don't we just ask the cleaning lady to spend another half an hour to do laundry? Like, how would that change my week? And it's like simple like things that you can do like that. And so if you're thinking in work, a question I often ask Jeff is like, well, what are the things that you're not enjoying doing? It's like, how do we outsource that? Or how do we get rid of that? Or how do we automate that? And so those are like, one of the things we just came up with is we don't have time to write long content because we're too busy onboarding customers and talking to them. And so we've ended up with these like power user videos that are 3 minutes. And I was like, well, we could record a 3-minute video, have our team overseas transcribe that and post that. Like we could do that every week. Like we could find 20 minutes to do that. And so it's like re-changing how we do things to like, we like recording videos and we like getting it done and we don't get stressed about not writing long-form content.
And what would be some of the triggers that will tell you, you know what, this is time to change or time to outsource something? When do you find that that's the time to do it?
So when you're avoiding doing it, when you like are doing it and then you just like keep trying to do other things, like I rather call customers than write stuff or invoice. I don't like invoicing. So yeah, I think part of it's like that awareness. So like think about like what you're really drawn to. Like what are the things like when you get to work, it's like, man, I wanna. That's the stuff you probably love to do.
Thank you.
You talked about energy wabam. Is that an acronym?
No. It's a Martha-ism, like, like, wabam! Like, you know, it's like, to me, it's like blowing up the stuff you hate and like just making the things. And it's funny, like when the meeting comes up on our calendar, Mark, my husband, and I kind of laugh. We're like, oh, we're gonna go do our energy wabam meeting. But we always come up with one thing. So Mark hated running payroll, but it's kind of important to run payroll. And so like, we're like, well, let's ask the accountant, like how much does it cost to run payroll? And it's like nothing. And so it's like, great, we don't run payroll anymore.
All right, last one in the back there.
Martha, I love your story. Can you give me your sales pitch?
Sure. I need a mic.
So how many of you guys have companies that you need to be found or you want your customers to find you online so you don't have to pay in order to get them? So schema markup basically translates your brand to be understood by search engines and voice. And what's great is once you do it, it's in an organic search, and so it just keeps paying back. And while most people do it because you get rich results in search, like stars and images, what's great is that it actually, because they now understand, gives you higher quality leads and higher conversion. And so we help digital marketers or companies do that without having to be technical and do it at scale so that they can be more profitable.
Thank you, Martha.